Yeah, so I was playing in London in the Hippodrome Casino, one of the bigger casinos there. We're playing 2-5 with the straddle was on this hand. I was in the big blind. I'm in the big blind. The villain is in the straddle. The table was quite soft. There were maybe three good players at the table, so it was quite nice. And it folds all the way to me, which was surprising. Was I think the first time that happened in like an hour and a half. I open two with 6-3 of diamonds. Open to 30 with 530 effective. That was my stack, and the villain covered me. And the villain called. I've seen him play for an hour and a half, not play much. Most often when he went to the pot, he either was the racer or he 3-bet a player before. He didn't do a lot of calling. Was a younger guy. I don't think he had a hoodie on, but he had headphones on. He was mostly focusing on his cards. He was not really sort of interacting with the rest of the table. So that gave me some kind of clue to what kind of player he is. I had sort of the tag in my head. Sorry?
Did you consider limping against this player profile? Were you concerned about getting 3-bet with a hand that you wanted to play post-flop?
I think at that point I was just racing all hands that I wanted to play with and not having a limping strategy just to simplify it for myself.
Fair enough. All right, so what happened? What's the flop?
So the flop was ace of spades, queen of clubs, 2 of diamonds. So we have a backdoor flush draw. We have a backdoor straight draw. We have an ace high board for the one racing. Pot is 62. I bet 15. And filling calls. I don't know if there's anything to say about that point.
I mean, I think that seems really fine to me. I don't know why you'd need to bet more than 15 here. You'd get a lot of folds at 15. We do have the back doors, so we have lots of good turn cards to keep barreling on. We might decide to keep barreling anyway because we have such a range advantage. Grant, anything you want to add there?
No, just more about we can start ranging the villain a little bit. I mean, if he's very active, as Thomas stated, maybe he has some floats that are pretty random, maybe some 2 back doors himself, like the 9-10 of whatever the suit the ace was or something like that. I don't know. But more likely he's got a queen or a gut shot a lot of the time is what it feels like. Feels like if he's a frequent 3-better, especially at the SPR that you guys are starting at pre-flop, he's going to show up with a lot of his aces aggressively pre-flop. So from a range perspective, it feels like he's pretty capped. You have obviously all the ace kings, ace queens sets. He may have sets of deuces, but beyond that, probably no sets. So it does feel like, as Jonathan alluded to, a place to just barrel a second time on almost every card. Maybe not a Broadway card, but almost every other card.
Even a Broadway card's mostly going to work. I mean,
yeah.
If a king comes, sure, he can have king queen, I guess. Sure, he can have jack 10, I guess. But he's going to be 3-betting those a lot, and he's going to not have those a lot, even if he wasn't 3-betting those a lot. It feels like we're pretty much have a green light to bet the turn almost always.
Did you have any thoughts on his range, Thomas, once this happened?
Yeah, so I was thinking about indeed king jack, jack 10, maybe a bunch of pairs that still want to see what happens on the turn, and a bunch of aces and queens, and maybe once in a while like 4-2 because he feels frisky. But that's basically. So I agree. I think it really sort of the action already kept his hand quite a lot, which made it easier to play.
Yeah.
Later on.
All right. What's the turn? We're having a meetup game on Clubs Poker on February 18th at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a deep stack game. We're excited to do it. Join us. Use the code POKERGUYS when you sign up at Clubs Poker, or use the link in our description. We'll see you there.
All right. So the turn is the 8 of diamonds, which I liked a lot because that means I feel good about the second barrel. I think there's a case to make for, even if it was like the ace of spades or a different ace or 8, I mean, that is still, you can still barrel the card, but this gives me some backdoors for it, over one of the backdoors comes in, so that's nice. Pot is 92, I bet 85.
Yep, I like sizing up here. I think it's time to start sizing up for sure. If he calls, we're gonna have a even stronger sense of his hand, I would guess, most of the time, right? Like he's gonna be a lot stronger than we were giving him on the flop. Like he's not gonna have those gut shots anymore, pretty much ever. right? He could be holding on with the queen, but probably not that often for 85, I wouldn't think. So we're going to know a lot more about his hand if he calls. I think sizing up is good. This is the number that should blow most queens away. So I like that too.
Yeah,
I agree.
one thought.
I was going. So go ahead.
No, that's all right. One thought is like if this is a very aggressive player who's going to be barreling gut shots when
Yes.
you check the turn, check raising might be
That's a good point.
slightly more plus EV play against that exact player profile. I mean, it puts you in a sticky spot if he calls, obviously.
So many sticky
Where you
spots.
basically have to make a diamond or feel like shit. Those are the only two options. But it feels like this guy rarely has an ace. If he does, it's a pretty weak ace. He has some queens that he might try to protect his equity with. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, that's a typical check backhand, but some players will bet that. His gut shots are all obligated to bet, is what it feels like. And Jack 10 just became a double gutter, which maybe you can't fold out. But his gut shots are all obligated to bet. So I think betting big is the only way to go if you're going to continue betting. And if you have like a metagame going on at the table or with this guy at all where you have multiple barrels in multiple situations, then it makes sense to continue with that line. But I do like a check raise as something to throw in there sometimes. I'm not saying it's the superior play or the always play, but I like the idea of it.
I actually want to throw in another option that none of us seem to have considered, which is betting small. So betting small keeps the queens in for another street. We get to make an extra $40 or something like that, and then we get to blow them off it on the river anyway most of the time, right? So that's like the best bluffs are the ones where they call flop, turn, and fold river, right? Not where they fold turn. We have enough equity that getting called isn't the end of the world, but I think we usually are going to be able to win on the river with a big bet anyway. So I think it's another way to go.
The issue with that, of course, is that you don't charge the gut shots the same amount, which is a fair amount of his hands, I think.
Sure. But you still charge them more. Like if you bet half pot, it's still more than they're supposed to pay. I mean, granted, there's implied odds there for them, but still, like, they're gonna. I don't think like King 10 is just gonna call if we bet $40 on the turn, unless it's got to be a pretty tricky player, a pretty fancy player to call. I think with King 10 there.
Maybe he's got headphones on, so consider that.
We know what that means.
Yeah,
right.
headphones
All
are
right,
a
Thomas.
big deal.
So you bet 85. I assume he didn't fold.
Just want to add, yeah, he called indeed. It didn't raise either. Yeah, I have the feeling, or got the feeling that the table was quite sticky. If I would bet small twice, that he would call with a little bit more range that I would be comfortable with. So this would be helpful. But I think indeed, if you can just go small bet, big bet, and fold out 80% of his range, then it's still very valuable to do that. I had never even considered it because it's also sort of the standard small bet on the flop, big bet on the turn, which it's a reason a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the villain calls, and the river is the 10 of diamonds. So the flush comes in.
Oh my God. How do you do it?
Beautiful.
Poker magic. So the pot is 262. And well, I want to bet, of course. I was considering different sizes. I think because of the big size on the turn, that his range is a lot of either small aces, king, queen, or jack 10, basically, which leaned me towards not too big of a bet. So I decided on 80 into 262.
Nice. I like that. I was thinking small bet the whole way on that card. You're supposed to be a little afraid of that card anyway. You're supposed to not love that card yourself. And you're going to fold out most of his range. Because now when he calls the turn, it feels like when he doesn't have jack 10, I guess he can have king, queen, but it feels more like, baby ace, like a lot of baby aces, right? And I just, if we go super hard, unless you have an image where you've been really bluffy or, he's super sticky and loves to pick people off, I think going small is the way. Grant, would you do something different?
No, I like it. I like it too. The monster under the bed here for me is the king high diamonds, which
whatever.
They show up sometimes.
So be it.
But I like going small. I do think that against some players, it can induce a raise, which puts you in a tricky spot. You just have to have plans for that for different players. Like some players you actually can fold to. That it just depends on the player. Probably not a player wearing headphones, not a headphones player, but there
aren't that many players we can fold to. There are some, but when we bet small and we're not that deep, they may turn straights and top two
after
two pairs,
this
like that.
after this show, Jonathan, I'm gonna sit you down and list 12 players that we both play against that you absolutely fold to.
Of course. But this guy, the guy who's 3-betting a lot and never cold calls, of course, this guy we're always snapping. We just snap it off and lose.
I agree. I agree. I love the size. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Great job, Thomas.
I like it.
So
less than the turn. It's so good. It's one of those where if he has ace 3 or something like that, he's gonna be like, oh God, I hate this so much, and call most of the time anyway, right? Because you just force him to. So what happened?
Yeah, so I was hoping for a call, of course, but he shoved.
Yeah.
So that's I was at that moment. To be fair, I called after 5 seconds.
Good.
Which I didn't like because I should have taken more time. But I sort of made the decision based on he could have sort of weaker that still wants to shove, even though probably I ranged him. I looked at, for example, King Jack, which I don't think is in his range anymore, so I don't particularly like putting that in. But Jack 10, I think, is still possible.
I mean, King Queen with the King of Diamonds, maybe. Sometimes you think that might be a 3-bet pre-flop, but maybe that's there.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's that. This is why it's not like a snap call, though you did say snap call, Jonathan, and I agreed with you. It doesn't feel like a snap call when you're actually here because you're not supposed to beat value too typically when King Jack isn't available based on the turn sizing. But sets aren't really available.
But when you bet 80 on the river, if he somehow has ace 10, and I don't know if he can have ace 10 because of the pre-flop stuff, but if he can have ace 10, he might just think ace 10's good all the time and I'm free rolling this raise, and stuff like that could happen because you bet so small. You look like you're afraid. You don't look. So I just feel like we open up his value range a little bit more than we otherwise would. And of course, if he has bluffs, this looks like a good time to jump on a bluff, right? When you bet small and the scary seeming card comes in backdoor.
Yeah.
I think it's just a call, and we could pretend to think if we want, but we're short enough pre-flop. We don't start deep enough that I think there's any. We start with like 55 blinds, right? I mean,
no, you're just 55.
Yeah, with $10 straddle. Yeah. I think we're always getting it in on the river, whether he has a speed or not.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think against those 12 players that I'm gonna run down later, we would do fold. But
sure,
I think against antisocial headphones kid, we definitely call.
Yeah. So what do you have?
So the only thing that we didn't discuss yet, which sort of came to me later on, was all the ace and queen diamond suited hands that he could have. I think
the lowest card was the diamond.
Yeah, he can have that.
The lowest card was the diamond. Okay.
So be it. So he had one of those, huh?
No, he didn't.
Oh, yay! What do you have?
He had queen 10 off. So he made 2 pair on the river.
Valued it.
And we, so the table split after I think another half an hour. So we had a little chat about the hand because there wasn't really a moment during the hand itself. And he said he's put me square on ace king. So he tried to get a little bit extra value out of it. I think my bet sizing also pointed him towards that.
For sure.
Because I think most people will bet much bigger on the river with a flush. I have a flush, so I'm going to have a lot of value. That was very interesting to also hear his perspective from that.
I
called that one. Feels good. The weaker 2 pair for value. Yes.
That's a cool hand, Thomas.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hand. And, nice win. Congratulations.
Yeah. Nice little double up there.
Yeah.
Feels good always.
It was a very good evening in the end, so I was really happy. And in the end, I used the money also to take out my girlfriend, so she was also very happy with me.
Yes.
There you go.
Sharing the wins with the girlfriend.
Exactly.
Good choice.
Thanks, Thomas.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Tired of being tired of being sick. In my head 24/7, how I'm supposed to pay the rent. Mr. Practice, I don't play. Friday nights we on the bench, trying to come up with a play. If it don't work, then hit a lick. So if knocking at my door, pain ain't tell. I'm studying her word, prayer. Baby excel, got away with way too much. Should've got expelled, but the school saw my potential. Smart kid trying to rebel.